Good afternoon or good evening.
Good evening.
Chair Nose, Vice Chairs Goodwin and Nelson. My name is Lisa Reynolds. I'm State Representative for Oregon, House District 34, and it's an honor to appear before you all today to bring forward this important bill, House Bill 3090. I am, as you know, a pediatrician, and it is that work that informs all that I do in this legislature, and it is the very health and safety of our youngest Oregonians that is at the heart of this measure. House Bill 3090 would end the sale of flavored tobacco products in Oregon, therefore preventing lifelong nicotine addiction, the long-term disease, and the short-term health impacts wrought by these products. I'm here today, I'm going to repeat this a lot, putting front and center the health and safety of Oregon children. Tobacco is the leading cause of preventable death and disease, killing almost 500 million Americans a year and more than 8,000 Oregonians every year. To be clear, most tobacco use takes root in adolescence, with 9 in 10 adults who smoked reporting that they started before they turned 18. And studies indicate that the younger someone is when they become addicted to nicotine, the harder it is to quit. There's a slew of long and short-term health effects of tobacco that one would do well to avoid. Let's take a trip back to medical school histology class and talk a minute about the lung. Luckily, we have Rep. Dexter here to correct me on any of this. May I use a visual aid?
Yes.
Turns out Rep. Pam has visual
You don't have
aids
to get
too.
permission in committee. It's just.
Okay, and I will file this onto OLIS. So this is healthy, normal lung tissue. And what I want to emphasize with this visual aid is that the lungs are incredibly fragile. Right, Rep. Dexter? No, I'm kidding. With just a single layer of cells which separates the tiny air sacs, which are called the alveoli, from our blood vessels. One single layer of cells. And the cell layer is designed to swiftly transport the oxygen we breathe from the air sac into the bloodstream in exchange for the carbon dioxide, which goes from the bloodstream into the airspace for exhalation. That thinness, that very thin, fragile layer, means that the lungs cannot act as the protective barrier that we think about with the skin or other, the gums in our mouth. The fragile lung tissue is not a filter. It cannot discern oxygen from chemicals and poisons. Everything you breathe, everything that passes your lung tissue enters your system. And we know that all types of tobacco products contain chemicals that are harmful to health. First and foremost, nicotine, which you're going to hear a lot about today. It's one of the most addictive chemicals on the planet. And in pediatrics, we are concerned how this drug impacts our kids, and we see that it can increase symptoms of attention deficit disorder, anxiety, and depression. Also, in what we inhale when we use flavored products, flavored tobacco products, are ultrafine particles that make their way into these little tiny microscopic air sacs, including flavorings such as diacetyl, which is a chemical linked to serious lung disease, volatile organic compounds, and heavy metals such as nickel, tin, and lead. Now, if we talk about cigarettes, which is part of the discussion here, combustible cigarettes, or as one of our friends say, we probably shouldn't light things on fire and inhale them, but combustible cigarettes contain arsenic, ammonia, radioactive elements, benzene, and more. Many of these chemicals are carcinogens, meaning they cause cancer. So they affect the lung directly, but the rapid absorption into this thin lining of the alveoli means that these chemicals make their way to many other target organs, causing cancer not just in the lung, but in the bladder and the stomach and the colon, the liver, the cervix. And then I'm sure we'll hear about the direct effect on the oral cavity. In far too many cases, whether by cancer or other long-term damage, such as heart and lung disease, long-term smoking leads to premature death. I'm here today putting front and center the health and safety of our children. Flavored tobacco products encompass a broad range of forms, from menthol cigarettes to sweetly flavored aerosol vapes, as well as flavored chew and cigars. Flavors range from cotton candy to mango to strawberry shortcake. These flavors mask the noxious tarry taste and the smell of tobacco, which would otherwise deter a young person, or maybe even an older person, from smoking traditional cigarettes. Put simply, these palatable flavors are a gateway. In Oregon, 20% of middle and high school students use e-cigarettes or vape pens. These are all kind of synonyms. That's 1 in 5, right? And 81% of these kids start with flavored products, and 86% of young users continue with these flavored products throughout their youth. And then they become hooked by high levels of nicotine. I've certainly seen young patients in my own practice who are struggling to quit this addiction before they're even able to drive, get their first job, or graduate high school. The tobacco industry has purposefully targeted youth with their marketing of flavors. Where we see a child, the tobacco industry sees a new client and one that will become a lifelong customer. As one of my colleagues said, it's an evil genius. In Oregon alone, the tobacco industry spends $115 million a year on advertising to market their products as cool and trendy and safe. And our kids are up against a massive and deceptive industry. In fact, one vape company, Juul Labs, has already agreed to pay nearly $500 million to settle an investigation which found that they intentionally, wrongfully, and repeatedly targeted children in their marketing. Oregon will receive about $20 million from Juul over this unlawful marketing. Ending the sale of flavored tobacco through House Bill 3090 is about preventing our kids from becoming addicted to nicotine, which sets them on a path for lifelong tobacco use, leading to lung damage, heart disease, and early death. And here's some good news. We're not first here, right? County commissioners in Multnomah County, as well as commissioners and voters in my county, Washington County, have already chosen to protect their constituents with this public health measure. Shouldn't we extend such protections across our state? Furthermore, Oregon's not the first state to take this on. California, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, and Rhode Island have already successfully ended the sale of flavored tobacco. I am here today putting front and center the health and safety of Oregon children. I urge you all to do the same. Thank you for your time, and I yield to my colleagues as well as other experts on this bill.